And moving on to Toronto, Canada, the City Council Friday stripped Mayor Rob Ford of much of his power. Over the last 2 weeks, Ford has admitted using crack cocaine, buying illegal drugs, drunk driving, and using lewd language on television. Jeffrey Kofman was a reporter and television anchor in Toronto for 15 years. He is currently on assignment in London, where he joins us from Skype. Means you've stayed up late for us, Jeffrey, so thank you very much for being with us.
I actually live in London, but I watch what's going on in Toronto. Every minute of it, I have to tell you, it is painful now to be far from the city right now as I watch it self-destruct, or at least Rob Ford have his hand in self-destruction. What a story.
I tell you what, Jeffrey, and that was actually going to be my first question there. You lived in Toronto for 15 years. You almost can't make this up. If somebody was trying to write an outrageous movie, I don't know that the plot would be this incredible. Does this just shock you, or could you see it coming?
I was born in Toronto. I grew up in Toronto. This is like watching an episode of The Sopranos. It is absolutely extraordinary. And, you know, it's very much like that, because each time you think it can't get worse, and then you tune in the next day and it gets worse. I mean, I think yesterday was, I can't imagine it getting any lower, but having said that, let's wait and see. But yesterday, the incredibly obscene comments that he made in public about another woman and about what he does at home with his wife were just shocking. I mean, it's shocking enough that he admitted to using crack cocaine while in office. He's also admitted to drinking and driving. He then made these comments, and you just think, does he not get it? He keeps saying he apologizes, but this is really the triumph of denial over dignity. He simply won't quit.
What do you make of this gentleman? I mean, I don't want to assign words, but there are words that can be assigned to a person who, would first of all participate in these activities and then lie about them, and then admit them and then excuse them by saying I was in a drunken stupor, and then all the things that you just said. What do you know, Jeffrey, about the public opinion of Rob Ford before this video came to light and then now?
You know, I think for an American audience, the best comparison is really this. Rob Ford represents an aspect of Canada's Tea Party. You think of Sarah Palin with the tie and lewd language, and you've got a Rob Ford. He's much more coarse, I should say, than Sarah Palin. But this is a man who appeals to a conservative constituency in the suburbs of Toronto, people who resent the so-called cafe or latte drinking cyclists of downtown Toronto, and all they want is to see lower taxes. They're tired of bike lanes. They're tired of urban planners. And he just says, enough government, let's just lower taxes. And he has done some of that, but he's also cut back city services significantly. But in the meantime, his conduct, people have known that he is a man of unrestrained conduct, shall we say. But these revelations first came out in the spring about this video allegedly showing that he had consumed crack cocaine. He denied it. He said the Toronto Star was lying. And yet the police chief of Toronto confirmed last week that they found the video. It does exist. He then admitted that he actually had lied himself and he had consumed crack cocaine. The core here is that there is a loyal following. They call it Ford Nation. And he has managed to hold on to them. But I think this week we're starting to see it crack. But excuse the pun, with these revelations and with this outrageously obscene comment he made yesterday.
Well, speaking of this Ford Nation, we've also read reports that he and his brother have been offered a television show. I mean, is that how you guys roll in Toronto?
Well, here's the thing. This is very much the modus operandi of the Tea Party. He has had a radio show with his brother in Toronto since he's been mayor. They just talk. There's no media to filter them. They can say whatever they want. The radio station that had sponsored that was so uncomfortable with these cocaine admissions that they pulled the show. The Toronto Sun, a very conservative newspaper, think of the New York Post, has its own conservative TV channel that is really struggling to gain an audience. They've offered him a show. They've offered him his own show. But let me add this. the Toronto Sun has called for his resignation. So get that.
Very, very interesting. And of course, the news today is that the city council voted to strip him of much of his executive power as mayor. He is still mayor, but pretty much in name only. They can only remove him from office unless he's convicted of a crime. So my question is there any talk that charges might be brought against him? My assumption is that crack is illegal in Canada.
Well, that is what we're waiting to hear. But the province is now considering moving to create legislation. Canada's never faced a situation like this. These are, the legislation looks at ethics violations and criminal conviction, but behavior this outlandish. Canadians are guilty, I think, of being a bit smug, looking at the kind of Jerry Springer antics of American politicians and saying, "Ha, look at them." And now Canadians have to look in the mirror and say, "Uh-oh, he's one of us." And it's a very uncomfortable moment. I should add, Debbie, by the way, just to show you how absolutely sort of comically absurd this has become, as well as serious. This weekend is Toronto's big Santa Claus parade, which is the city's equivalent of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. And normally the mayor of Toronto would march down the street and wave and be applauded. The organizers have said he is not welcome. Apparently an R-rated mayor is not good company for Santa Claus.
Apparently so. Jeffrey Kofman, thank you so much. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.